And now for our next segment in this episode of The Cursed Kingdom, may I introduce you to Carmen as we discuss her new book. Hello, Carmen. It's a pleasure to have you in The Cursed Kingdom, though I doubt you're enjoying your stay here.
Oh, it's all right. Every day is a little bit gloomy, but we're going to make it fun.
I hope so as well. So I guess we should start with the obvious question for our audience. What's the name of your fantasy teen fiction novel?
It is called Wars of End.
Cool. Very interesting. So what can you tell us about the story without giving away too much, obviously?
It is a fantasy, but you knew that.
Obviously, yeah.
Got a twist on magic. I'll say that much. There's some parts of it that are going to be familiar to people who like fantasy novels, but some parts that hopefully, at least, people haven't seen before. Lots of drama, lots of action, a little bit of blood and betrayal. But it's about, long story short, an evil guy trying to take over the world and someone's got to stop him. But there's this one race of humanoids that can turn themselves into what do you call them? They're feline humanoid. I can't think of the word. This is awesome.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sure we can find out when we read the book. So is it only available on Kindle? Is it a physical book? Do you have any audiobooks?
Right now, it is just on the Kindle store. I haven't branched out yet to make it into a hard copy or an audiobook. That one's definitely going to take a lot more effort on my part to have someone read it.
Well, I'm pretty sure we would love to, I guess, listen to it as well. I love audiobooks myself. So
as long as someone can do it right, if they can give it what it needs to have enough energy behind it, I think that would be really cool.
It would sound really cool, I would have thought. So did it take you long to write?
That's a loaded question. I started writing this in 5th grade.
Fifth grade? Wow.
So It has changed a lot. It evolved a whole lot. A lot of the main characters stayed the same, but most of the storyline changed. I took a few years off here and there, so it took me all in all probably about 10 to 12 years to write.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Here's me, when I write a book, I think I work on it for about a year or two. Okay, so what can you tell us about your creative process then? How did it come about? What inspired it?
A friend of mine back in 5th grade and I used to write books together. I guess they were more like short stories because, we were in 5th grade, so there wasn't a whole lot going on in our heads. But
well, at least I wasn't the only one that did that then.
No. Yeah, we would both have a notebook and we would take turns writing a chapter and collaborating. And so I just decided I wanted to write my own book. And I've always been pretty creative and always had stories in my head. And I decided to write one down. But like I said, I took a couple years off in between editing and writing. And as I got older, I would go back and read the things I had written years before and think, wow, this sounds like a little girl wrote this book. I really need to fix some things. So it was just growing as I grew and changing as I learned what people wanted to read, and the characters would grow with me, I guess. And then sometimes my computer would completely erase an entire chapter and I would scream and be angry and want to throw my laptop across the room. So that caused a lot of the breaks that I took, was just frustration with technology.
Oh, it's all right. I actually had something similar happen earlier with my book. I've been working on the 3rd draft and a chapter had disappeared. So I redrafted that chapter again and then it reappeared under the chapter. Under it. I was just like, what the hell? And it was all highlighted green and I was like, what? What's going on? So I could completely relate. I swear my computer's haunted. It must be this goddamn curse. So, can I ask, what was the hardest, thing you had to overcome when writing this book? Hardest challenge?
Writer's block, definitely. You would get going so well, and sometimes I would sit at my computer for hours and days just writing because I had so much of the story in my head that just needed to come out. And then I would get to this one point and I had nothing left and I didn't know where it was supposed to go. And I would write something and I would hate it, so I would erase it. And it's just, that's probably the most frustrating thing, because you know what you want to say and you know what your characters are doing and where they're supposed to go, and you just can't get it out the right way.
Yeah, it does sound pretty frustrating, I must say.
Yeah.
Okay, very frustrating. Not pretty, very.
And then when you add a newborn baby into the mix, that makes it extra hard because you can't focus on writing anymore. You have to focus on the baby.
Yeah, you can't focus on anything other than the baby for 2 years? And then you get a little bit of a break?
Maybe.
Never. It's never going to happen, is it? So, are you intending to write a sequel? I did notice that it is book 1 on Amazon.
Yes.
So.
Technically, the sequel has already been written. It was one large standalone novel, but I had a couple of publishers suggest that I break it up because readers today don't like to read large novels.
Bullshit. Sorry.
That's what I said too, but
just look at Stephen King.
Yeah, I know. Or Tolkien in his books, those aren't short. But I guess for the audience that it was aiming at, it would have been easier just to split it up. So it took me a long time to bring myself to do that because I'd spent so much time on it already and I didn't want to split it up. But I figured if it made something easier for somebody or more inclined to want to read it, then I would just do it. So it's already there. I just have to go through and re-edit the second half.
Ooh, so is there any chance that we'll be looking forward to that in the near future?
Yes, especially since my husband today told me I need to sit down tonight and work on it.
Well, you've got a good husband now then. So
he likes it.
What can we expect in the future then? Are there any little hints or spoilers you can give us?
From the book, or?
Yeah, the second one. Any little tiny hints?
There's a major plot twist.
Ooh.
Probably going to frustrate a lot of people if they get into stories as much as I do when I read.
I'm one of those that gets really into a story when I read or I write, so it would probably frustrate me then if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, you think you know what's going on and it's not at all what you expect.
So
but it made me angry to write it because I was so mad at the character for doing it.
Oh, that's a really good teller, that one. So basically, just don't trust any characters in your book. Got it.
Pretty much. Yeah, except for the main character. She's pretty cool.
So, did you base any of your characters on real people in real life?
Maybe subconsciously, but nobody in my life knows how to do magic, so...
It would be cool if they did, though.
And I'm pretty sure nobody in my life can turn into a 8-foot feline humanoid.
It'd still be cool if they could, though.
That would be really cool. And that's probably where the whole idea started, is because I really wanted to be able to do that when I was a kid.
Well, I can't really blame you. It sounds like a really cool superpower. Like, can you imagine that? It would be awesome.
All the strength and the agility of a cat plus magic.
The Amazon links for Carmen's book, War of End, will be available in the description down below. Now, let us take a quick break yet again and listen to a bit more of Democratus with their song Deity.